Germany has an election this Sunday, and we already know who the winner will be. Angela Merkel, you know her. She'll be governing from this building behind me. And if all you care about is who the next German chancellor will be, stop here. But if you care about German policy in this next term under Angela Merkel, you have to understand the system and how the political parties work. That's because Germans don't choose their chancellor directly, but vote for parties instead. And the parties send delegates to this building behind me, the parliament. And what happens there is that the parties get together and some combination forms a coalition which has a majority of seats, and that coalition elects the chancellor and determines policy. The parties that matter are these. Angela Merkel's party are the Christian Democrats. They're a centrist party, slightly to the right of Germany's middle, but still quite to the left in the American political spectrum. They're running on competence and pragmatism and, of course, above all, the personality of Angela Merkel. The party that'll get the next most votes are the Social Democrats. They're on the center left, so somewhat to the left of the Christian Democrats. They've been running on social justice, but a lot of voters see them as pretty much the same as the Christian Democrats. Then there are four smaller parties, all of which are vying for third place. On the center left again, there are the Greens. They're focused on ecology, the environment. They're fighting against climate change. On the center right are the Free Democrats. They're pro-business, pro-markets, and somewhat tougher on Euro bailouts, for instance. And then you have two parties on the extremes. On the extreme left, you have a party that's called the Left, and it descends from the Communist Party of East Germany. On the extreme right, you have a populist party that's called the Alternative for Germany. It's only 4 years old, but it's against immigrants, sometimes seems to be against foreigners in general. Now, what are the coalition options? No mainstream party will form a coalition with the Alternative for Germany. So the Alternative, that's the right-wing populist party, will not get into power. The three left parties, that's the Left, the Greens, and the Social Democrats, they've long been dreaming about someday getting together to form an all-left coalition, but they won't have enough seats. That leaves only coalitions with Angela Merkel and the Christian Democrats in the lead. Her first option is she could try to have a coalition with the Free Democrats, the pro-business party, and the Greens, the ecology party. That would be very exciting for Germany because it would be the first time for this coalition. And it's just possible that there could be breakthroughs in German policies, for instance, on energy, on the environment, on structural or economic reform. But there are big problems too, because the Free Democrats and the Greens hate each other. The Greens think of the Free Democrats as aging yuppies, and the Free Democrats think of the Greens as aging hippies. The only other option would be for a coalition between the Christian Democrats and the Social Democrats. That would be boring, because that's what Germany already has, and it might be dangerous for democracy, because if the main left and right parties start looking so similar, then a lot of Germans could get frustrated and go to the extremes on the populist left and right. But if you look at polls, that's actually the coalition that Germans like best. And that's because a lot of Germans just like stability, and this large coalition would be the stablest. Now, what do we at Handelsblatt Global hope for? First of all, I have to say we're a German publication, and unlike American newspapers, we don't have a tradition of endorsing a candidate or a party outright. But of course, we have opinions on these matters, and here they are. First of all, we're hoping very much that the two populist parties on the extreme left and the extreme right do worse than expected, because we don't think they're good for the system and the debate as a whole. What about the mainstream parties? Well, on the center left, there are the Greens, and we think they should make up their minds about whether they want to keep being a radical leftist party or whether they want to become a moderate and reasonable party that wants to be at the same time for a strong economy and a clean environment. And something similar could be said for the Social Democrats. They have a left wing and the right wing, and they have to make up their minds which they want to be. Now, on the center right, Angela Merkel's Christian Democrats, it's quite hard for them to say what they're actually about beyond the person of Angela Merkel. If you go to the smaller Free Democrats, they've been outside of parliament for 4 years. And we think they deserve a chance to get back in, because a classical liberal voice is actually good for German policy. In terms of coalitions, the grand coalition of Social Democrats and Christian Democrats would be very stable. That is a good thing, but it might be quite boring. The slightly less stable option of Christian Democrats, Free Democrats, and Greens would be combustible but exciting and could actually lead to some genuine German reforms.